Today for our art project, you are going to need white paper, and this can just be the white paper that's in your sketchbook, a pencil. You're going to need a small paintbrush, a small cup of water, a set of watercolors, and a box of crayons. And the technique we're going to learn today is called watercolor resist. So after hearing and looking at Rechenka's eggs, remember that the eggs were very colorful. So the Ukrainian art of egg painting is something that they are well known for, and they use very vivid and bright colors on their eggs. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw an egg, and so we're going to fill up the whole space as best we can, and the top of the egg is just a little bit narrower than the bottom. So just take your pencil and start drawing an egg shape on your white paper, with the top being just a little bit narrower and the bottom being just a little bit wider. And you don't have to erase anything. You can just go around it until you feel like you have a good egg shape that you like. Okay, so now that we have an egg shape, we're going to choose a crayon color to go around the egg, and this can be any color. I am going to use purple because I like purple, and so I'm going to outline over my pencil that I just did on the line that is the outermost line that looks like the shape of the egg that I want to keep. Okay. So it's basically a big oval that's a little bit wider at the bottom. When you are drawing with your crayon, just make it dark, because since this is a crayon resist with watercolors, you don't want the watercolors to cover over the colorful crayons. Okay, so I went around that a couple of times just to make sure it was really nice and dark. And then we're going to start drawing some lines on the inside of our egg. And for that, I am going to use my yellow. This is dandelion is the color of this. And since the egg is a rounded shape, we're going to draw some curved lines because we want it to look kind of three-dimensional. So you can see that I've drawn one curved line, and then I'm going to draw another one here, and then another one. So I'm on my third line. I have 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do another one here. Okay, so I've divided up my egg into 4 spaces with curved lines, and I'm just going to make sure that's good and dark. And if you press really hard or you're using too much force, you might break your crayon, but you just want to go over it enough that it stands out really well. So you can use any colors you want, but I like complementary colors, and purple and yellow happen to be complementary, but you can use any colors that you prefer on your egg. Now we're going to draw some designs in each one of these spaces. So you can think about how Rechenka's eggs have all these beautiful, colorful designs, and you might want to create something similar or do something that you really like. So her eggs have diamonds, flowers, stars, and triangles. Diamonds, stars, flowers, and triangles. So I am going to try to capture some of those shapes. So I'm going to start with this pink, and I am going to create some flower petals. So that was 4 curved lines at the top, but you can do any shapes you want to fill in your space. It's your own creative design. And again, just going over that dark enough that it shows up well. And then for the next one, I am going to do some triangle shapes. And I'm going to use this bright orange. So I'm going to draw triangles coming down from that line, and then I'm going to draw some smaller flower shapes in between the spaces. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a circle in the middle of each one of my flowers because I think they look kind of like daisies. Okay, so far I have these two sections done. These colors are kind of hard to see, but when we paint over them, everything will pop out really nicely. Okay, I'm going to use this strawberry color for my next pattern, and this time I am going to do some diamonds. I'm just going to do a pattern of diamond shapes. It's up to you, the patterns that you want to do. And then I'm just going to let two kind of go off the other side. And then I'm going to do some little blue stars in the center of each diamond. Okay, so I have those two sections done. 3 sections, excuse me. And then in this next section, I think I am going to use the color green. This is actually robin's egg blue. And this time I'm going to do some ovals. And then I'm going to do some smaller circles in between those ovals. I have one last section that I need to complete, and the color for that section will be something really snazzy. I'm just going to use this shocking pink. And for this, I think I'm going to do something similar to what I did at the top, just for a repeating pattern. And then I will put some smaller triangles at the bottom to finish it off. Okay, so the next part of the project is the watercolors. So we're going to go in and we're going to fill in everything else with some watercolors. And this can be any of the colors that you have in your watercolor set. So I am going to start with green. So you wet your paintbrush in the water and then you put it into the paint. And notice what happens with the watercolor and the crayon. Since the watercolor is water and the crayons are waxy, it gives a resistance because the crayons resist the watercolor, so you can still see what I drew there. And that is the really neat thing about this. And for the next one, I'm going to go into my orange. And so you just fill up your paintbrush with your watercolor, and you can just go into this area. You don't want to saturate your paper with water, but you do want your watercolor to spread evenly. And you can see that the crayon is still showing because the watercolor resists, or it resists the watercolor. Okay, so I have green and orange, and I'm just literally filling in the section. So for the next one, I am going to do red. And my little stars that I drew are standing out, and the diamond shapes are too. If you're careful not to go into the top one that you did previously, then your colors won't run together. And it's okay if your colors run together a little bit. And this is kind of fun because you can just paint right over it. You don't have to stay away from the crayon lines. And that's kind of cool. Okay, for this section I'm going to do blue. So if the color isn't spreading enough, you can add a little bit more water to your brush. If you don't have a bright enough color, you can add a little more of the watercolor to your brush. And then if you accidentally go out of the lines, you can use a little bit of a paper towel to just kind of blot that, and it should come off if you get it before it dries. Okay, so I'm on my last section, and I'm going to finish out the bottom, and then we will be finished with our egg. So I'm going to use yellow on this part. And that yellow looks nice, I think, next to the shocking pink. Okay, and then just take one last look and see if you filled in your egg pretty well. And I think that is a finished egg. And you want to keep it lying flat while it's drying, because if you hold it up like I was for too long, the watercolors will drip when they're still wet. So leave it flat to dry, and you'll have a beautiful egg like Rechenka's eggs.